optimizing and automating procurement. We're here to talk today with Andrew Leto, who is founder and CEO of Emerge. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit, I gather you have an interesting come-up story about your experience in the supply chain and that you identified a gap in the industry and wanted to fill it. Tell us about that gap.
Yeah, so I started, did 5 years Navy, got out. In 2003, I started my first company, which is now one of the largest truckload brokers in the United States. And truckload brokerage in the United States is a massive industry. It's a $100 billion industry. And even though it was one of the biggest ones, it's like a $3 billion company, but it's a $100 billion brokerage industry.
Wow.
And I started that in 2003 out of the Navy. My dad was a freight agent, worked out of the house, so that's how I learned the business. And when I saw what he was doing, I literally, my first company, Global Trans, what we did, we were LTL mainly focused, less than truckload, and we built one of the first platforms for shippers to procure LTL. Like you go on at Travelocity or Orbitz or Priceline, shippers back then, there was not that many, it was only us and another competitor that had a platform. You go on and type in any location and see all the LTL carriers, like you would a plane ticket, and that's what we did. So I built that until 2014, and that's when we sold my first company.
And what was the gap that you identified next in the industry?
Well, then, in 2011, I got into truckload, broke the side of the industry. And truckload is a massive, it's 4% of our GDP in the United States, just trucking in general. Everything you see in this room, 4 cents on every dollar is spent to move these goods here. And it's an $800 billion industry. And out of that, 100 billion of that is brokered it doesn't go to the actual carrier, it's brokers that do that. And when I first got into truckload, because I was started as an LTL broker, I realized that you couldn't build like what I have at a Global Trans with LTL. You couldn't build a platform where there's 100,000 different truck companies in the United States. So you couldn't do it like you would book a plane ticket. So I've always been interested ever since I got into truckload in building what we're building now, which is marketplace. But I started with, just like in any marketplace, you have to have a lot of something to, density, chicken and the egg problem. And we solved that I found the biggest hole in any shipper supply chain, which is procurement. I realized that every shipper has a TMS to manage their freight, but very few had a platform to go run their bids and actually, and that's where they actually do decisioning layer on what carriers they're going to use. And that's what, so I say this, most of the trucks you see on the road are procured by shippers using spreadsheets and email. So that's what we do at Emerge, is that we give them a platform to do that. And that's where, I've had this idea since 2011. I tried to do it I thought visibility was the way to build the density in the marketplace. So I started a company called 104.com, eventually sold to a company called Trimble, publicly traded company. But I thought that was a visibility play. But I realized quickly there that wasn't the way to build any marketplace. And a marketplace is very needed in this industry. And I'll tell you why. There's 100,000 different trucking companies. And the average shipper only brings in 200 trucking companies to any particular bid, the biggest ones. But the average shipper in the United States brings 20 vendors to any bid. That means 99% of the time, you point me a trucking company, they're locked out of any particular ship bid. And to me, that's one of the biggest problems in the industry. There's this massive amount of supply of suppliers, which are the carriers, and you needed a platform to do this and connect with them. And that's what we're really trying to solve at Emerge, is this whole problem of connecting to carriers.
Right. So basically, freight procurement is a complete mess, and all these providers are just getting shut out of the bidding process.
Yes.
Through no fault of their own.
Right.
That's
like
really
I said, if you were a big shipper and I had 200 trucks and we were friends, there's only less than a 1% chance that I actually have access to your bid event. And think about it, if you're using spreadsheets and email, I can't bring in 100,000 carriers to a bid. So you need a platform to do something like that. And I think that's one of the biggest problems in logistics, is the fact that there's all these truck companies, but no one's really truly connected to them in a good way. And that's what we're doing on Emerge, is really trying to bridge that gap by going to the shippers and giving them a procurement platform to start. And that's how we're going to solve this issue of the whole capacity problem, which I just told you about.
Why do you think nobody had done that before?
Is I learned that to build a platform, and to build any platform like we're building, you need three sides. You need the one side of the market, which in our world, it's the carrier side. You need the shipper side, which they're in the RFPs, and then you need a middle layer platform. So I got, not too many shippers not too many companies were able to do that, build a platform, and especially only in the last 7 years was investor money flooding into our industry. So 10 years ago, you can build this platform, and without massive amounts of, and there was no money for it. And luckily, I had some wins under my belt, and I was able to go. It was a perfect time because investors were starting to look at investing in companies like us back in 2015, 16 when I started Emerge. I started in 2017 actually, but really money started flowing in only in the mid 2015. Before 2010, there was very little investment at all in our industry and all supply chain logistics.
Right, but it's also about the sophistication of shippers too, isn't it? I mean, like you say, a lot of people are still using Excel spreadsheets. What's forcing the migration towards being comfortable with this kind of technology amongst shippers?
Yeah, that's one of the hardest thing that we have to tackle at Emerge is, the shipping manager's been doing it his way for many years, or her, and that's the way they think that it should be done. When we offer a free platform, how our platform is paid for is by to me the shippers are they're the hot girl of the dance. So the carriers, like I said, since there's a 99% chance any particular carrier is not connected to you, they're willing to pay to access that freight. So we give a free technology to the shipper, and that's how we're monetizing. It's how we monetize. But it's a density play. I had to give the platform away to get enough density. And now we have 5% of all the freight in the United States being bid on Emerge. It's now enough to actually have enough to get carriers that want to come in and start playing.
But you still have to overcome this sort of fear of changing the process.
Oh yeah. Like I said, the hardest part is the relationships. They're very deep. And carriers and brokers, in trucking, 30% goes to brokers, 70% goes to carrier direct. And those are deep relationships that go back many years. So you have to somehow, and I'm not trying to, Emerge isn't trying to like break those, but it's definitely, we're trying to tell shippers there's a better way to do it. You're locking 99% of the trucking companies out of your bid, and that doesn't make sense when you think about if you care about cost at all. You should let more people access your bid, and that it's working, but that definitely takes time. One of the biggest problems I have to tell my investors is that the sales process, once we start talking to a shipper, takes six months to a year.
Wow, that's a long lead time. Right. So tell us a bit about how Emerge is doing now.
So now that we have, like I said, when people say, how did Emerge build this marketplace? Which, by the way, we haven't. I can't even say that we're completely there yet. They'll say, and this is what I hope. Emerge saw this hole in every shipper supply chain tech stack, of which every shipper had a way to manage their freight, and that's through TMS. That's their execution layer. We solved the procurement layer. Which carrier am I going to use? Who am I going to award this to? All that. And we finally got to a place where we have enough density of freight. And I thought the number was 10 billion, but in an $800 billion market, it turns out we're at that point now. 20 billion is what we have. Now we have enough density. So if you're a truck company, you come to my system 2 years ago, you wouldn't saw enough freight to even stick on it. Now you come and you're like, oh, I'm going to come back here every day. And that's where we're at now. So we finally solved the density problem, which is the hardest part that I thought I was going to, I definitely was not planning. If it didn't solve it like by now, because I'm doing 5 years, I probably would have given up. But we finally got to the point where we have enough density to now bring the carriers in a big way. And that's where we're at now. We finally hit the density issue. We solved that problem. Now it's all about connecting these carriers. It's 100,000 carriers, and we have about 30,000 of them that now have access to the bids. But still, they're not. We still have to train them to come in every day. We don't have enough. We just got to the point where we have enough density for you to want to come to our platform every day.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do is build that. And that's where we're at now. We solved the density issue, and now it's all about connecting the capacity to the bids.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Andrew, it's really interesting to hear about Emerge, filling the gap in the freight procurement process. I've been here with Andrew Leto from Emerge. Thank you for watching.